A new ceasefire in the Middle East and a new set of questions. When will Hamas disarm and who's going to police Gaza? Plus, a showdown over secrecy, the Pentagon's new rules for reporters, and the major news outlets saying no way. And Amazon is gearing up for the holidays. How its hiring blitz stacks up against a slowing job market. The stories that matter, clear and credible, from across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News.
Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
This morning, President Trump is celebrating what he's calling a historic breakthrough, a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas that his administration helped broker. He's now turning to what he terms Phase 2, the next step in his peace plan for the region. Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. With all living hostages now released and Israel having freed hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, Phase 1 of the Trump-backed plan to end the two-year war in Gaza is nearly complete. Egypt's foreign minister says both sides still need to fully carry out the first phase before negotiations move forward. That initial stage included the hostage prisoner exchange, a surge of humanitarian aid, and a partial withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza's major cities. Aid has been flowing into Gaza since Friday, but Israel says Hamas has not yet returned the remains of 24 hostages, as promised. An Israeli military spokesperson tells CBS News that's why troops have not fully pulled out. The next phases of the deal are expected to tackle some of the toughest questions: how and when Hamas will disarm, who will control security inside Gaza, and what a temporary governing council might look like. A multinational peace force is expected to deploy to Gaza, but which countries will contribute troops and how they will operate is still being worked out. And the biggest question of all, whether Israel will formally recognize a Palestinian state, remains unsolved. The government shutdown has now stretched into day 14, and the Senate is back in session tonight, trying once again to break the deadlock. Lawmakers are expected to vote this evening on the House-passed spending measure, the 8th attempt to reach the 60 votes needed to reopen the government. Republicans say they're pushing for a clean, continuing resolution, meaning funding without any policy add-ons. Democrats, however, insist that the package must protect Obamacare subsidies and avoid deeper cuts to Medicaid.
We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demands and pass a clean, no-strings-attached budget to reopen the government and pay our federal workers.
Democrats responded that Republicans have repeatedly rejected their short-term plan, which also funds health programs and provides additional disaster relief. As the stalemate drags on, the Trump administration is moving forward with layoffs. ABC News reports dozens of employees at the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration have been told to stay home, an agency best known for launching the national 988 suicide prevention hotline. Today, a showdown over press access at the Pentagon. By 5 p.m., news outlets must sign a new restrictive media policy or hand over their press badges within 24 hours. The policy requires reporters to acknowledge they won't seek or solicit any information the Defense Department has not pre-approved, and warns military personnel could face consequences for unauthorized disclosures. News organizations call that a gag order, saying it violates First Amendment rights and muzzles reporting on how a nearly $1 trillion department spends taxpayer money. Matt Murray, the Washington Post executive editor, said the proposed restrictions undercut First Amendment protections by placing unnecessary constraints on gathering and publishing information. A who's who of news organizations, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, the Wall Street Journal, NPR, Reuters, The Atlantic, The Guardian, all say they won't sign. So do right-leaning outlets, Newsmax and the Washington Times. Fox News, the former employer of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, has not yet indicated whether they will sign the pledge. A Pentagon spokesman says reporters are, quote, moving the goalpost, insisting the policy just requires an acknowledgement, not an agreement, and reminding journalists that access to the building is a privilege, not a right. We are learning new details about the sniper who opened fire from a rooftop in Dallas last month, killing 2 people outside an ICE facility. Police say 29-year-old Joshua John was jobless, isolated, and obsessed with AI technology, spending thousands of hours playing video games alone in his bedroom at his parents' home. According to CBS News, John's parents told investigators he moved to Washington State but returned to Texas, claiming he had radiation sickness from what he believed was exposure to a Manhattan Project site. He also insisted he was allergic to plastic, wearing gloves to avoid touching it. Investigators say John bought a rifle in Oklahoma and spent weeks practicing at target ranges before the attack. The September ambush left 2 immigrants dead, a 37-year-old from El Salvador and a 32-year-old from Mexico. One other was seriously wounded before John turned the gun on himself. Police found handwritten notes detailing his intent to target ICE agents and one bullet carved with the words anti-ICE. Get ready to see more blue vans buzzing around your neighborhood. A lot more. Amazon is gearing up for the holidays and hiring big to do it. The company says it will bring on 250,000 workers across the U.S., full-time, part-time, and seasonal, to handle what it expects will be a surge in holiday orders. It's the third straight year Amazon has added 250,000 people for the busy season. The company says its seasonal jobs pay more than $19 an hour on average, and regular employees earn about $23 plus benefits. Amazon's hiring spree stands out. Across the retail industry, seasonal jobs are expected to drop to their lowest level since 2009 as higher costs, inflation, and automation lead many companies to cut back. Amazon says openings will be posted weekly through December, and as usual, they're expected to fill up fast. Finally this morning, I love this story. Charlie Brown's got nothing on this great pumpkin. Take a look. The crowd at Half Moon Bay saw history in the making. Look at this thing. A California engineer rolled in a gourd so massive, even the forklift groaned, if you will. Brandon Dawson's giant jack-o'-lantern tipped the scales at, get this, 2,346 pounds. Oh my gourd, that is a ton of a pumpkin. Dawson says he's used the same precision he brings to his engineering job, measuring sunlight, temperature, even water flow to turn his patch into a science project.
I was in this position last year, but I lost by 6 pounds. This year was able to take the win, and that's really what the goal was this year, was to win one of the best, if not the best, pumpkin weigh-offs in the world.
Hey, good for him. And the satisfaction of a job well done is not all Dawson won. He gets a pretty big slice of the pie, if you will, a $20,000 prize. Good for him. Which gets me to thinking, are you a pumpkin pie person? I definitely am. But it has to be high quality with lots of whipped cream. None of this overcooked stuff in your oven because you bought the least expensive one at the grocery store, going to try it yourself. No way. It's fall. Pumpkin flavor, that's all a go, that's all the rage. So pay the $15 to $16 at Village Inn, get a top-notch pumpkin pie. You know what? You deserve it. All right, before we head out, here's what we're tracking today. At 11, President Trump hosts Argentina's President Javier Milei at the White House. They are expected to focus on trade and regional security. Later today, Maine's Democratic Governor Janet Mills is expected to announce a run for the U.S. Senate, setting up a showdown with Republican incumbent Susan Collins. At 4, Trump will posthumously award conservative activist Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And tonight at 7:30, a candlelight vigil will be held at the Florida Capitol to honor Kirk on what would have been his 32nd birthday. Wake up with your brain already caffeinated. Sign up for our Unbiased Updates newsletter. Go to san.com/newsletters. Those are your Unbiased Updates for this Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.